Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Blueprints and Bytes. Joy, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you. And thanks for everyone watching. This is a very interesting conversation we're going to have today around diversity and labor in the AEC industry. And I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, you and me both. I'm excited. It's a great topic. There's a lot to unpack, and we've got two amazing guests for us this episode. So, without any further ado, Joy, why don't you introduce our wonderful guest to us?
Absolutely. So we have with us Margarita Polanco. She is with DPR. And we have Christabel Sheridan, who is with Microsoft. And rather than me butchering their intros any further, I'm going to let them actually introduce themselves. Margarita, would you like to start?
Sure. Thanks, Joy. Thank you both for having us here today. I think this topic of discussion around diversity, equity, economic inclusion overall is an important topic across the AEC industry. So I'm happy to be here. Again, my name is Margarita Polanco. I'm a supplier diversity professional. By role, I work for DPR Construction in the Northeast in Boston, supporting opportunities to invest more of our dollars in diverse businesses, as well as a primary focus to ensure that our pipeline of workforce on our job sites is also diverse. Thank you. I'm happy to be here today.
Christabel?
Christabel Sheridan. My pronouns are she, her. I am an account executive with Microsoft. I've been part of the Microsoft family one way, shape, or form or another for 23 years. In addition to my day job, my gay job is I am the head of the Americas for Glean, which is Microsoft's LGBTQI plus group, as well as I am an advocate for the queer community in corporate America. So really excited to be here today and talk about this topic.
Awesome. And welcome to both of you. And again, thank you so much for giving us your time today as well. I want to kick things off with surprise, surprise technology, right? So the question I have for both of you is, how do you see the role of technology and how it's helping your roles within the diversity, inclusion, economic inclusion roles that you fill within the construction industry specifically?
Technology has really been an amazing game changer for the work that I'm doing in supplier diversity. We're all about data and tracking metrics and understanding what's available in our local communities, right? And so, in order for us to track and measure and understand, our primary focus is on inviting new businesses to work with us, as well as tracking our local workforce. We're utilizing a lot of technology in order to track all of that data so that we can see how diverse businesses are, what they look like, who owns the organization, what's the percentage of contracts that we are awarding to those businesses. And then on the workforce side, we're tracking bodies, we're tracking actual people on the job site, we're tracking the diversity of our people. And so a lot of our clients and a lot of our projects are required to track diversity on our project sites. And so we're utilizing the technology to understand the diversity again. How many men, how many women, what's their ethnic background diversity, if they're African American, if they're Hispanic and Latino. And so that we're understanding the community data, but how we need to push more opportunities for certain communities to be part of the industry. We're trying to really dig into the details about hiring and best practices for hiring. So technology is helping us drive a lot of that.
And I would say the biggest thing from a technology standpoint is building community, right? In the ERG spaces, talking with other organizations, and in my own personal experience, right? Building those virtual communities for people to support one another within a particular industry is vitally important, right? Because people need to feel that they can be their authentic selves when they go to work, right? That is so vital and important, regardless of the industry, because the energy and effort it takes to hide that or to downplay that is a distraction from what we're actually trying to accomplish as a group, as a team, as an organization. So really building those virtual communities and bringing people together is where I see the technology really shining right now, and where I think we can continue to make great strides in making sure people feel represented, they feel heard, they feel supported, but that they also have like-minded people with them that can help them feel part of the community.
I love that. And I couldn't agree more with that authentic self statement. In fact, I had the luxury of chatting to both of you last week or a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the sensors in a hard hat, right? That when you're walking onto a job site, and here's John Flynn. So we know the identity of this person who's just walked through the gate. But is that really identity? Right? You've just given me my rank and serial number based on what I've written down on a piece of paper or what's been put into the system, and an RFID tag has tagged me going in, right? How does that differ from the conversation we're talking about? Here's the individual who's on the work site versus here's the identity of that individual on the work site. What are the nuances between that, those two distinctions there, Christabel?
Yeah, so really understanding, look, when we get to a point in our society and in our culture where none of this matters, we've won, right? That's when things are good, when I don't have to come out as a transgender woman, when I don't even need to acknowledge it. I don't want to be known as Christabel Sheridan, the transgender woman who's an engineer and all of that. I want to be Christabel Sheridan, the engineer. Oh yeah, by the way, she's trans. Like, that needs to be the afterthought. Unfortunately, today, that's not the case. And so really allowing people to identify who they are and gain that support, I think is the big difference in maybe what's in an HR file versus how someone actually wants to be known and how someone wants to be thought of, right? Having those conversations with people, I think, is really key in making sure people feel included in the day-to-day life.
And just to touch on that, I think, Christabel, you pointed out a number of things out. It's self-identification, not the requirement of how you want me to identify myself, especially when you look across the board on a national scale about people, where they come from, their heritage, culturally, how they identify, self-identification as to who I am as a person. It's so cookie cutter. Here are the 5 categories we're going to give you. Which one do you feel as though you should select that's closest to how you identify? We need to expand on self-identification and expand on ethnicity and expand on different parts of who people are in order for us to understand the data a little bit better. That's how we dig a little bit deeper into the details. And I think when we start to explore avenues of self-identification and the differences in between, those nuances between it, then we can start to be more inclusive about the people that we're working with. And we're more inclusive and thoughtful about how we report the data and metrics back to folks who are interested in looking at it. I think that's an important case. It's cutting out that cookie cutter 5 things that you think I should be, and kind of expanding on that. Let me identify myself.
Yeah. And Margarita and Christabel, I've worked with both of you for years in the past life. So I'll be vulnerable here. There was a time when I didn't understand the idea of diversity all that much, right? I was ignorant. I was learning, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there learning. And so I want you to kind of, if you can, just shed some light on, what is it that is not helping us making that progress, or what could we be doing more to have more progress in this space? Maybe I'll start with you, Christabel, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I've often I get asked this question a lot, and the difference in my mind is inviting someone to a party versus inviting someone to a party and letting them play some of their music. Right? There's a nuanced difference there.
I love that.
Right? And that's a great analogy I use to talk about this. Yeah, maybe I'm invited to the party, but am I really being included? Do you want me to bring some food I like? Do you want me to play my music? Right? That's the part that is that next step that we need to take, right? For the most part, and I won't say it's universal, we're better now at making sure everybody gets invited to the party, but are we really including them once they're there? So that's the biggest thing for me. When we allow people to play their music, when we allow people to be part of the party, they're happier, they're more productive, right? So thinking about from an HR perspective, the employee is more likely to stay long term, be more productive, be happier, right? Because of the support they receive when they're invited, right? So that's the real thing, I think, is the nuance difference. I think we're trying to make that next step of not just having people sit at the table, but inviting them to play their music.
Inviting them to play their music. I think there's also a listening aspect of it. I think you want to have me here. I'm at the party with you, but can I speak? Can I join the conversation? Can I voice my opinion without people feeling offended or not understanding my personal perspectives? I can sit at the table, but are you listening to me? Are you asking questions? I know some people are uncomfortable in asking questions, but we need to find ways in building relationships amongst our peers to be able to talk about those uncomfortable questions. I think, Joy, we were talking about that the other day. It's important that we listen, we ask questions, and then we kind of build off of those topics so that folks really understand who we are as peers. I think another part to this is allyship, right? Who are my allies in the workplace? Who's that mentor or that guy that's an ally that can help get me to the next level so that I can continue to voice my opinion and continue to share? I think that's really an important discussion, especially being a person, a minority, a woman, and in a space of majority male figures. And we need to continue to push the opportunities for us to be able to speak, voice ourselves without feeling guilty about it.
I love that analogy. Can I play my music? Right? I mean, that's absolutely spot on. I love that. And
can I sing? Can I play my music and sing the chorus?
I'm stealing that 100%. I want to touch a little bit on both of that. And Margarita, you said that being a minority, a woman in a traditionally male-dominant industry, how do the firms that are the suppliers of people, that are suppliers of solutions, that are suppliers of getting the job done in this industry, provide an outlook that they are willing to have everyone come to their party and also allow them to sing and also allow them to have that voice? How does that look? Because if I'm outside looking in, it's traditionally a very male-oriented industry. It has its own nuances and it has its own reputations, right? How does that look in order for that to be perceived as a safe space for me to go into, because I will be able to get the mic and sing and speak?
Well, I think organizations should have folks like myself and Christabel to help do that. We're the bridge in between creating those relationships, right? And so for me in particular, working with contractors, bringing on new contractors to do business with us, I'm the person that's going to help say to my peers, hey, we have this new company. Here are their qualifications. They're a match for us because their company or their organization, it kind of fits our DNA. They are, socially responsible. They have like business practices like ours. Let's dig a little bit deeper to see what their qualifications are and invite them to the table. We want to create that safe space that we're bridging the gap in between relationships. And I think that's the most important part. It's advocacy. It's bringing all of us together so that we can talk about businesses, we can talk about people, but we can confidently, advocate for them and their services. I think that's a very, very important key to building relationships is advocacy. And there's also trust behind that too, right? And so in order for a company to feel comfortable enough to do business with us, there has to, especially in construction, there has to be a level of trust and maintaining trust so that people understand, who we are, how we do business, and how we can find the right opportunity to work together.
And the part I would add, I appreciated Joy being vulnerable earlier and stuff. I transitioned later in life, so I had presented male for the most of my career, and then only about 8 years ago did I come out at work and transition, and I was very nervous. And one thing I will tell you, very particular to the queer and very even deeper than that, the trans community, it's actually very easy to tell when a question is coming from a place of curiosity and a place of learning and growth mindset versus hostility, right? It's way easier than people think to tell. And there are many members of any community who are willing to take the time and educate, right? But on the flip side, there's the internet, right? And so, to your question, what can people do or what can organizations do? educate
That's right.
themselves. Take the time and go out and educate themselves on the resources about that particular community. Even though I'm a member of the diversity and inclusion, community here at Microsoft, I challenge myself as not a person of color. I have learning to do. And as someone who was raised male, I still have learning to do. And there are still things I need to teach myself and expand. And so I need to take that burden onto myself of educating myself. So organizationally, if an organization shows that it's willing to challenge itself, it's willing to get uncomfortable and ask questions, that's a great sign as a prospective employee that that's an organization that even if they don't get it today, they're willing to work on it and learn, right? So that's actually a really key thing. And then the other thing I would just tell people is when you find someone who's willing to talk, ask the question, right? I don't mind, right? And my advocacy for the transgender community, I want to answer all those questions so that the next generation doesn't have to. So that's really my goal is that education so that it's out there. But yeah, organizationally, educate yourself.
I mean, equally in that space, education is very important. We all live in some type of unconscious bias at some point of time in our lives, and we have to acknowledge that in this industry. And I think the more companies are focused on creating unconscious bias trainings that are consistent, that are reflective of what's happening in today's world, how our space is changing, more individuals are identifying differently, or there's certain communities that we're starting to work with. We have to continuously educate. It can't be like a one-stop shop. Let's have a training today and we won't see you till next year, because things do change through time. And so I think consistency on the educational piece, back to Christabel's point, is key to how we're going to continue to push, our industry forward.
Let me, you talk about the industry. Let me just tie this back a little bit to construction as well. Margarita, can you, and maybe even Christabel, can you guys just tell us, what do you see as the impact of this work? Because when we work together at Suffolk, Margarita, I know the whole diversity and inclusion program. We have one here in Microsoft too. But what do you see as the impact to construction? Is it labor rates? Is it construction costs? What is it that equity? I mean, what is it that you think is, like, if you were to fast forward this video 10 years from now, what would
Yeah.
we be talking about, kind of thing?
It's sustainable economic opportunities for people who are diverse. When we are in communities and we're building buildings and we are working in spaces that we don't understand the diversity amongst these communities, we're going to have a large impact. We're able to hire small businesses who are diverse, who then in turn hire diverse workforce, who in turn create career opportunities, who in turn then be able to make livable wages. It's a ripple effect in the industry. It's socioeconomic impact, and it's revolving and it's evolving. And so we're able to give back, we're able to do more, but we're able to introduce opportunities that people didn't have before. It's a large impact in construction, and it can change a community. If you think about it, we're building large buildings, $500 million jobs. The job's going to start 1 year and last for the next 5 to 6 years. Think about the time that has been spent in that community to create dollars. It's economic impact.
The other thing I would say is we know in the industry that there is a difficulty in recruiting, right? There's a lot of people aging out of the industry and not the same volume coming into the industry. So I also look at it as an opportunity for the industry to broaden its pool of potential employees, right? If it's not looking at a diverse workforce, if it's still looking at it from an old mindset, then they're going to continue to struggle to recruit and as people retire, replace them within the industry. So I think that's the other thing. When we look at these next generations, I have 2 children in college, right? When we look at this next generation, it's a very different generation,
Right.
right? It's a very different mindset in this next generation. These are things they expect, right? They expect a diverse workforce. They expect a welcoming place. These are, if you don't have them, you're going to struggle to recruit, right? So there's while I agree there's a socioeconomic impact to the community itself, very selfishly from the business
Yes.
standpoint, if you're a contractor or anything,
Yes.
you need people to build those
That's right.
buildings. And if you are narrowing your scope of
That's right.
pool, you're going to struggle to build more
That's right.
buildings.
That's right.
It reminds me of, we worked with John Fish. He used to say, we don't build buildings, we build people.
That's right.
And it really reminds me of that. It really kind of brings it back for me, at least, to things that, that he used to say about that. Really, really powerful. Thank you for that. That's really powerful.
Absolutely. And I think just tying back to the people, the AEC industry within itself pays a different type of scale of opportunities to people. I mean, you come into construction, you come into architecture, you come into engineering. Those jobs help people build a lifetime of opportunities for themselves and their children. The pay wages, the wages for the workers, the livable, equitable wages, it's very, very good careers for our people, internally as the builder, externally to the community. To your point, Christabel, it's for everybody to do well in. And I think people don't look at it from that aspect as well.
In the spirit of being vulnerable, right? I am not a diversity and inclusion expert by any means, right? And I imagine I'm not the only one in the world who is in the same position I'm in. So I agree with everything that you said in terms of it takes that conversation, right? It takes education. It takes having the will to come in and listen and understand and learn from that. But for people who are like me, who are wanting to learn, but how do we go about doing that in a way that is natural, in a way that makes sense for us to go in, instead of, my biggest fear, again, being completely vulnerable here, is being seen as an imposter, right? Because, I need to go and figure this out because it's a hot topic right now. No, it's something that's near and dear to my heart. I have children. My eldest daughter said to me the other day, I was talking about a company that we're potentially doing business with, and she said, "Are they a good company?" I'm like, yeah, they do this. She says, "No, but Dad, are they a good company? Do they treat people like you get treated?" And that floored me a little bit. I'm like, wow, learn from your children. That was a learning moment there, right? Absolutely. I'm like, clearly my wife is doing something well, right? But what I'd love to know is how do people like me go and learn, put themselves in those uncomfortable situations to come out stronger and more understanding on the other side?
So the biggest thing I would tell you, going back to my, earlier point, people in most marginalized communities can tell when it's genuine. You get asked so often, you get spoken to so many different ways. It just becomes very evident, and it becomes a sixth sense that you can tell when it comes from a genuine place of wanting to grow and learn. Right. And so don't be afraid to get uncomfortable and ask questions. But also, if a person, so I put it this way, as a transgender woman, I get asked a lot of questions throughout a day, every day of my life about this. There are times where I hit a threshold and I'm like, okay, enough. I kind of just need to focus on my day job or other things right now. And I've kind of hit a limit. Here are some resources. Go educate yourself, right? In the day of the internet, there are resources out there to go. I mean, just do a Bing search. I do work for Microsoft, so I can't say the other word. Do a Bing search and find resources and educate yourself.
That's right.
Listen to podcasts like this. I get asked this all the time internally at Microsoft. Attend an event when an ERG at your company is putting on an event. Attend it and actually attend it. Don't multitask. Don't actually sit, listen, and attend it, right? That's the key. And I often say this, take time to meet your colleagues and sit down and just have casual conversations with them. There's a statistic out there that 60% of people in the United States don't know a transgender person. They just they don't know one. Well, congratulations, everyone listening to this podcast and watching. You now know one, right? And so you are no longer part of that statistic.
Yeah.
And if the more we can do that, the more it becomes human and real, and you see others as they want to be seen, as human beings, as part of the community, part of your community, the better it will be. And it just becomes second nature over time.
I would have to just second everything you've just said, Christabel, because I think it's important that you get involved and you join groups that you don't understand or want to be more a part of, to ask all the right questions. And there's no wrong question. I think you have to find the comfort space amongst yourself to be in those groups, to find questions that you'd like to get answered, and to build a relationship with your peers as part of the ERGs that you're working with. I think as you join these ERGs and as you join different forums of discussions, step outside into your community and find events within your local community that help you understand this on a larger scale. Then you get involved at work, you're involved in the community, you're able to advocate, you're able to become an ally. You're digging a little bit deeper into your interests and your curiosity behind these topics. And I think that supports a lot of it in a holistic view for your learning opportunities and education. Just step outside your comfort zone sometimes and just try something new. And I think that's really helpful. Definitely.
Love it. No, every time I talk to you guys, I feel like I learned something new for years. And so with that, we'll try to wrap it up over here. I'd love to, maybe just ask one last question to both of you, Christabel and Margarita. Uh, Final thoughts, maybe some call to action, anything kind of open ended, but want to leave it on that note. So Christabel, maybe ask you.
Yeah. The biggest thing, thank you both for including us in this today, right? Getting the word out about the importance of these things is key. The thing I would leave people with of D&I is not a journey to an end destination. It's just the journey, right? It is just day in and day out, because as a society, as a culture, we're always evolving. What we believe to be true 100 years ago, we no longer believe to be true, right? And society and culture is ever evolving, and it takes time. Cultural shifts take time. Right? It's not going to happen overnight, but with each individual person, with each individual who makes a commitment to be inclusive, to be welcoming to others who aren't like them, we make that shift happen just that much faster.
Thanks, Christabel. I think my overall, and back to my point again to education, is to, get involved in your job roles, get involved in your community, ask questions. If you are a leader in your organization, talk about supplier diversity. What are we currently doing? What we can do more of? If you want to learn more about DEI in your organization, do you have a team that does that? And if you're a leader, be a part of that. I think the best part about leadership, especially in the AEC industry, is that you are able to have influence, but you're able to have influence in your people who are leading projects, who are managing other people. It's all a ripple effect. Be a leader, ask questions, and how you can do more. And that's a part of the change we want to see in the next couple of years, is how can we increase diversity on all aspects, but more importantly, get our people to also want to be a part of that.
I love that. I love what you both said there, and something very personal to me is I think conversations like this are critically important, because you get to learn how to be a part of the change that you're looking for. Right. So it is great to be educated about it. It is great to understand the journey, excuse me, as you say. But how do you then be part of the change? Right. How do you transform that into action? And that's what my bias is towards, is being able to be educated to then be part of a change, be part of something that is then evolving. To your point, Christabel, things will change. As things evolve, they change even more. Right. And I think the conversation, starting listening to the conversations and then having your own, as you said, Margarita, having your own self stand out of your comfort zone, whether it's in the ERG, whether it's at work, or whether it's to the Bing searches, because we won't mention the other names or anything like that, but taking that leap. And you've both helped me tremendously and continue to help me in doing so, because I strive to be part of the change as well as being educated, because then you can educate others. So I thank you so much for your time. There is never enough time in the world to talk about this, so 30 minutes was never ever going to do it justice, but I would love for this to be one of many. And I'd love to us to see how we can get a little bit more targeted in some of these conversations as we go forward as well. So thank you very much. This has been a wonderful conversation. It's been long-standing desire of both Joy and I to bring this to the forefront, right, and then start to live it as well, because we work for a company that is very supportive of us doing so. So we're very appreciative of that. We're very appreciative of everyone tuning in to the podcast. Again, if there's any topics that you'd like to hear about, let us know. And let us know your comments on this. There's a lot of powerful things we've been speaking about. We've heard some amazing things from Christabel. We've heard some amazing things from Margarita and Joy, of course. Let us know what resonates in the comments, and let us know how you're leaning in to diversity, inclusion, and taking action upon that. So until next time, thank you very much, everyone. We will speak to you soon.